Hey guys, welcome back to another YouTube video. Today I thought I'd go over Battlefield 6 Portal. It has been weeks. I'm so sorry guys. It has been weeks since I have last updated y'all on what I have done since the TDM test. I thought instead of just doing an update on the fact that I have actually completed the code, but two, on the fact that there isn't a lot of resources on how Portal works. All right, so this is going to be my layout for it. If you are not trying to watch some of these things, I will try and put timestamps in there. If I don't, it's probably because I got bored of making this video and uploaded it, titled it, gave it a description, and then left it be. Essentially, I will do that. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not the greatest YouTuber, but please like and subscribe if you like my content. If you've been finding yourself coming back to these videos, I do upload more than just Battlefield 6. I have a lot of Call of Duty stuff. I have a lot of Call of Duty stuff and some Silent Hill stuff. I actually do really want to make a remake video on it because I never followed up on the fact that I predicted it and I was so right that the game would be good. But anyway, back to this. So yeah, we're gonna go over Portal and how this works because it's very quirky. I don't know why I got this. The animatronics do get a bit quirky, and oh yeah, this is my stats, bro. I'm kind of dog water out the game, low-key. Anyway, so what we got here? All right, so if we go up here, so this is gonna be the first thing that everybody will load into whenever clicking on Portal. So you got your game time, right? You got a whole bunch of things right off the get-go that might be like very confusing to you, and you might be like, oh my god, what am I looking at, right? So I'm gonna try and walk you through this as if you were walking through this the first time, right? So you got your settings, right, which is literally just the match time. I don't know why they even like bothered making this a separate thing, but yeah. Then you got the map rotation, which is where you can upload your map. I'll go over that in a bit. You got your teams, so you can make rules for each team, right? So you can easily do an infection mode based off of this. You got if your bots spawn in at all, or if they backfill, or if they're static, or whatnot, right? And again, you can also change this to each team. So this one will be static. This one will be no bots, I think, right? Is that how that works? Okay, maybe not. Maybe I'm tripping. But yeah, that should be how that works. I'm really confused now. What the hell? Anyway. Yeah, so you got your modifiers, right? Soldier. Again, you can make this for each team or just one. Your vehicles. Blah, blah, blah. Again, make sure you have this button clicked right here for it because I've made a mess up on that where one team like was able to do everything and the other team wasn't. All right, your class restrictions is just like what cannot be used. Again, this is also team based. Filter it. And then you got your rule editor, which is going to be really confusing. And yeah, I think this should explain why. I'll go over this in a little bit, but for now, we're just going to stick to that. You can also code it in here, but it's not going to be code block. So people that are monkey brained are going to be like, what am I looking at right here? And I don't even know where to start. And then you got your publish button. So this is where I see a lot of people messing up and whatnot. So publishing and saving are two different things. So for this, we're going to call this for team draft, right? And then I'm going to again call this for team draft. Right, and then I could save it. Woo! I saved it. Make sure you don't press publish all the way down here at the bottom. It'll be like step 3, choose a picture, right? Man, I'm sorry. The reason why you don't do this is because you can, whenever you click submit, it submits it for reviewing. So if you have a map that's named like shipment, for example, it will give you a ban or not a ban, but like a strike or whatever, or warning. And that's because they're afraid of copyright. I posted the email somewhere, but I got one of those emails actually because I made a shipment that was actually shown in a video. But yeah, I guess it got flagged for review, and then Activision was like, "Hey, this is our property," blah blah blah. Right? So that is how that works. So again, make sure you click save. Whenever you click save, it will still show up in your experiences under community in the Battlefield 6 like game. So again, just make sure you are not clicking publish right out the gate. Make sure you're clicking save. And then back to modifiers is what I was kind of talking about here. So like you can change the aim assist if you're M&K person and you think controllers still have too much like are still too goated or whatever you want to call it, like, oh, controllers are busted. Well, you can turn this off, and then why not, right? You can turn on hardcore mode, turn it off. You can class lock weapons, turn it off. You can reflect friendly fire damage, or turn on friendly fire damage. I don't know where that is on here, but yeah, that is something you can do. And then you can change whether or not you can prone, whether or not you can slide, whether or not you can sprint, whether or not you can strafe while sprinting, whether or not you have infinite ammo, and if that ammo, or whether or not you have infinite ammo, or if you have infinite clips, whether or not, I don't know what this is necessarily, but if you are confused on what it is, or if you are confused on what any of these do, there's this information button that can help you, alright? Then you can change the health regeneration if they're downed or instantly dead, or this new one, crawl, which is which I think was introduced with Battle Royale. Then you got health regeneration rate, so if you want people to regen health immediately or slower, you can do that. If so multiplier is basically kind of just like how much health they have by default. So if you think the TTK is too fast, you can easily put this up to 150. And then redeploy delay, you can turn this all the way down and make it quicker. It will require you though to have it above 0, so like you'll have to do like 0.01, and that'll be like the same thing essentially. You got your vehicles, right, exiting, blah blah blah. Again, most of this stuff is self-explanatory. If you guys don't want to continue on with this, you don't really have to. I really doubt you guys will tweak any of this. This is going to be the main thing that I think you guys will. We'll touch though, depending on what type of mode you're trying to create. So this literally will just turn off the class. So if you want one team to only be assault, you can easily just turn that shit off. And then go to this one. And let's say you want the last two to, or you want one team to only be support. Well, you can do that. And then whenever you click both, it'll show you which ones are banned and which ones are not, right? So some good stuff in here. Again, the green mark means that they're enabled, not that they're disabled. Weapons, it's again same rule of thumb. If you don't want one team to have shotguns, you can ban that. If you want one team to only use rocket launchers or whatever, you can also probably do that. I don't actually know if rocket launchers are in here. That might be considered part of the class. Or, no, gadget. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so, So yeah, in your gadgets, right, you can also, again, this filter thing might help you out here, right? So if you want to ban some launchers, you can, no more launchers, right? Stuff like that. Same with the vehicles. And then the rule editor. So I'll go over this later. I'll talk about uploading a map and some of the map publishing quirks real quick. So this is kind of going in with what I was talking about with the map thing. You can't name the map, like don't upload the map named, or don't upload the file named as the map you're recreating. So like, just to be safe about it. So like, don't save your map in the Godot editor as like shipment, like name it something different. Again, I have to do this with High Rise, but whenever you click submit publish, make sure that the map is named something completely different, right? And then when people play it, they'll know that name of the map if they ever find out. Like if someone does a 24 server is probably the only way that they're going to know. They'll know that, you know, that map name is tied to shipment or whatever. I did see some people getting confused about it or talking about it because it is something to think about, right? Like, not everybody is going to hear the name Blood Block Yard and immediately be like, oh, that's shipment, right? Some people are going to be confused because, well, they don't realize that, well, people are being handed copyright strikes from Activision mainly because it's mainly COD map recreations that are being made right now. People are seeing those, or people don't see those and then don't understand why people are naming these maps certain ways, and then it creates more confusion because then people are going to be looking for one creator's version of shipment named Blood Block Yard, and then someone else is going to have a creation of shipment called, you know, Puppy Playtime Yard or whatever. So it was like the first name that I thought of, but that's what I'm trying to say is like it kind of ruins the Portal experience because of copyright strikes. Even though, in my opinion, Activision literally has no jurisdiction within this because you can't really copyright strike the geo of a map. Maybe you could copyright strike the layout, but even then, that's still like weird territory. So I think they're just trying to play it safe. I think Activision has been threatening them with suing and whatnot over it, and I think that's why they've been handing out copyright strikes. So yeah, just make sure that you are doing that right, and then I'll go over uploading a map. So for those that created a map and they're still confused about how to upload it, your map is going to be saved as a JSON, right? And I'm going to go on depth into this, so if... Man, my throat is so dry. So if you are curious about how the JSON works and how the maps work, continue watching this segment. For those that do not care, just want to know how to upload a map, I'll just go ahead and do it, and then you can click off, right, and move on to the rest of the video. So what you're going to do is click choose file, and then navigate to the directory where export levels is within the Godot installation. I named my Portal SDK 111 after the, you know, version of Portal that we're on now. So for this, you're going to want to upload the correct spatial. Don't upload any spatial, right? You want to make sure you're uploading the spatial correlating to the map that you created it on, right? So I made this on Tech Center, so I'm going to upload Tech Center, and then I'm going to click save, and it's going to work, right? Now this is going to go into the other thing that I was talking about with the file size. If I upload this first one that isn't fixed and click save, it's going to say action needed. That's because the map's too big. So, might be wondering, wait, there's file size limits? Yes, there is, son. This Portal mode sucks dick, bro. It really does. They handicap you so much with being able to create, right? And they also make it even more 10 times confusing because they don't have like a standalone map editor. They give you a fucking installation of Godot with some like tweaks to the engine so that way you can create a map. Very, very weird. I will say it does make this at least a little bit easier for everybody to create maps because you can easily download this shit on like a 10-year-old Mac or whatever, and it'll run fine. And I think that's why they did it the way that they did, instead of making it a standalone map editor, because standalone map editors are usually only for PC, and you can't make the argument, well, Godot, you can only install it on PC, you can't install it on console. Again, like I said, I think the reason why they did it this way is because a lot of people have at least some sort of like computer, whether it be a 10-year-old Dell laptop or a brand new iMac or, you know, gaming laptop. Someone will hopefully at least be able to download the Godot editor and edit maps in this like very potato-y state where nothing is like, you know, actually shaded. There's no ray tracing or anything like that. I genuinely think that's why they did it this way, to try and close the gap on the barrier of entry. But even then, it's still like very gatekeepy because, like, again, this is still limited to only PC. And instead of just making a standalone editor like the Far Cry editor or whatever, like Halo Infinite's Forge mode, they did it. They did it so weird. Anyway, back to what I was talking about with the map size. So I'll just go ahead and show you what it looks like visually. So a lot of destructible elements. This is what I'm pretty sure takes up the most space. So like these walls right here, I have like 100 of these placed around, right? I'm pretty sure these walls take up a huge file size. So deleting these, you know, will help close your file size. I think the file size limit is around 800 megs. Because if we look over here, yep, okay, if we look over here, you can see that the one that isn't fixed is about a meg, right? And then this one right here is 600 kilobytes. Again, about half of a meg, a little over. It's not above 600, or it's not above 800, it's below it, right? I tried to keep as much of the original map as I could. I'll show you guys right here. I deleted quite a bit. And the only way that I was able to get it working is by dipping it below 800. Yeah, it's gonna fucking crash out. But yeah, that is kind of how that works, right? So again, keep file size in mind. Some quirks with Portal Editor that I did kind of want to talk over though. Right, yeah, so okay, now you guys can see it a little bit easier. So you can see I had a lot of levels to each castle. I had to delete a huge chunk of it in order to get it below a meg. So again, Portal Editor is very restricting. This also means that you can probably only have like one fully collapsible building before the file size hits before you hit the file size limit, right? Crazy stuff. A lot of mod editors and whatever you want to call it actually do have like a file size limit, but good ones, truly great ones, do not limit the user on how much they can place down. All right. So, whenever I say that, I'm really mainly referring to like the hammer editor and Forge mode, because in Forge mode they have really extended how much shit you can place down. In the hammer editor, you can just do so much with it. It's so cool. Oh yeah, I forgot Fortnite editors, I think, too. I have used that a little bit, but I haven't really thought about that in a long time. Anyway, back to this. So we're talking about Battlefield, not Fortnite. So yeah, make sure you don't hit the file size. Make sure you have the correct objects placed in. If you try and place in object from another level into the one that you're currently using, it'll tell you that you can't place it, right? Again, the Portal Editor is very limiting on what you can do. So I really do hope that they give us a map where it's literally just a floor, but it gives us literally all the assets and even lets us place in terrain pieces like Halo 5's Forge, because that would be absolutely amazing. And honestly, it shouldn't take them a lot of time to do that. The only reason why I think they haven't done that is probably because, again, Portal mode's very limiting. So I can only imagine that it's because the file size would just get too big, and that's why they don't do it. But back to what I was talking about though with some of the quirks, right? So you might be wondering, well, how come Portal maps have like this weird lighting and yada yada yada? Well, it's because of how they render the maps. So again, like what I was saying, I'm pretty sure they did this all in Godot and the most bare bone forms like you're seeing right now, because they want this to be able to be ran on like the most low-end devices. They want people to be able to create maps on whatever PC hardware that they have, right? So they export, whenever you click export, it exports it to a JSON. So I'm going to show you guys what the JSON looks like. Hopefully it's still open. Yeah, okay, so this is the JSON file that it spits out. Now you might be like, whoa, it's actually spatial. No, dude, the file extension is JSON, alright? So this is the spatial. It saves all the metadata of every single place object. All right. And it saves it for each individual object, right? Like with your transform and everything, like everything in this pane is what's being saved to this JSON. And the reason why they save all this object information is because when you upload it to here and whenever you load into the map, it loads that JSON file and it spawns every single object right before the match starts, which is why you can't bake lighting, but it's also why you are able to not load in quickly. It's why you're able to run this SDK on potato hardware. It's literally because they're trying to make this as accessible as possible. So everybody else gets extremely limited by that, essentially, right? So continuing on though with some of the other weird quirks. So because of that, you can't place lights, but they're only dynamic. And again, you can't bake lighting, so you won't get proper lighting stuff. Your maps aren't going to look good is what I'm trying to say. So don't even try and think that you'll be able to make a map that is somewhat decent looking. You are not going to be able to. I'm sorry to break it to you, bud, but that is just unfortunately how Portal mode crumbles, all right? Now, you can place a lot of shit in an area and do a lot of natural lighting that will fix a lot of the issues, all right? But it won't fix issues like, again, where areas are just super dark or they're either super bright when they should be dark. So tunnels are going to look bright. Everything's going to look bright. All right. It's going to basically look like Halo Reach's Forge mode, where you could place a lot of shit, but it was all pre-textured. You couldn't change anything about it. It was all, the lighting was already baked, so you couldn't bake the lighting yourself, right? Again, I'm pretty sure this Portal mode is exactly the same way in that aspect, except they give us higher res models, so you can make things look really nice. Another thing to watch out for is scaling objects. I have talked to a lot of people that, or not a lot of people. I talked to one dude that was trying to scale things by literally just taking it and then dragging it. You can't do that, all right? You got to do it uniform. There are some objects that you can scale like willy-nilly and the collision won't mess up. But for the most part, you are going to want to keep this thing on whenever you scale the object. You can't just scale one aspect of it because the collision will mess up. It's just how it works. I try to not ask questions. My guess is, like I said, the way that it spawns all the objects into the map rating from the JSON file is that if the metadata isn't lining up with how the engine wants to interpret it, then it'll just like get the best of what they like. It tries to generate the collision based off the scale of the object rather than, or the uniform scale of the object rather than the actual scale of the object. So like you can technically scale this just a tad bit up and then scale everything else uniformly after, and technically the collision won't be super fucked up, but it won't be great, right? You'll still have some like issues is what I'm trying to say. So that's another quirk of that. All right, now that we're, well, I guess technically we're not done. We can try and keep this going a little bit more. So I did see some people having issues with the deploy cam, right? So what you're going to want to do is take a deploy cam for each HQ, and then you're going to want to make it a child. And by make it a child, I mean literally just dragging it and then putting it on this, and then that'll make it a child. All right. And then that'll basically allow you to have your deploy cam, like it won't just show like a black box or anything in the bottom right corner right here. The only caveat is, well, actually, no, there is no caveat. You don't even need an object ID for it. Like, it is good right out the bat. Now, you might be wondering, well, my map overview is messed up. How do I fix that? So, I think they fixed it, but I could be wrong. I don't think you need this 3D cam. But at the same time, if your shit is not like looking like this whenever you load into the map and you're choosing a redeploy point, if it isn't like displaying the map properly, you can go into the map itself, grab yourself a camera 3D. You're gonna have to, well, you can't really grab yourself one. You're gonna have to create a new object, right? I swear to God, bro. Holy fuck, bro. Oh, Godot sucks dick. All right, so it's gonna take forever, but whenever you click this plus button, it's gonna give you a bunch of objects you can place in. One of them is going to be camera 3D, and you're literally just gonna drop it in, rotate it facing down. Oh my God, bro. Rotate it facing down, right? And then you're gonna want to take a deploy cam and make it a child of camera 3D, and that's how you'll get that to work. So now that we're out of this, I literally can't stand this. I recommend to just not try and do too much. If you want to figure out how to do different spawns, whenever this unflex itself, I'll come back to it. So right now, I'll just go to the rule editor and talk about what I was saying. So we'll just do the default one, so that way I don't have this action needed up there. So now for the rule editor. All right. I'll go over the basics right now, so you guys can get a basic understanding. So for those that are just going to download the template instead of creating their own thing, you'll at least have somewhat of an idea of how the code works and functions and flows, right? So these orange blocks here are your functions. How do you create a function? Jesus Christ, bro. This doing everything in a website sucks, bro. I don't know why they don't just do a whole different application that lets you code. But yeah, create subroutine. This is how you're going to create your function. You can add your parameters in it, blah, 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 right? Now, this is pretty advanced, so you might be like, well, I don't really care about that. I care about this. All right, so this is kind of a bad one to choose, but essentially with a rule, you got your name, you got how it's triggered, and then you got your scope, all right? So right now it's in global, everything else is private. Think of it that way, all right? So, and by private, they call it objects, which is fair because your variable type is essentially, well, okay, so public is its own variable type, right? It can be literally anything from an integer to a float to a point to whatever you make it, that's going to be global. Area trigger, it's private and it's that own type, right? Capture point, again, it's private and it's that own type. All right, think of it that way. I'm not 100% correct on it being private, but it's just easier to think of it that way because they call this global, and everything else is named that way. Now, you might be wondering, why do I keep screaming? Again, like I said, it's because they put this code shit inside a website. So whenever you scroll down, like you scroll to the bottom, it automatically scrolls you down to the bottom once you hit the bottom. So like you'll end up scrolling off page half of the time you're coding. Again, the rule editor sucks cock. I don't know why they don't include a template from the get-go. I don't know why we had to wait for one dude to basically single-handedly create Conquest from scratch in order to even get something remotely similar to Team Deathmatch. I don't know why. I don't know why. All right. You can tell I'm very passionate and angry about this because they literally could have just included Conquest and TDM and all of the modes that they have in Battlefield 6 right now. They could have easily included those rule sets for us as a template for the rule editor because they created it themselves in the rule editor. And I know this because whenever you go and play something like Breakpoint with like some different rules, it just says breakpoint. It doesn't say breakpoint casual or breakthrough this and this. It just says breakthrough. So they use the rule editor themselves, but they don't include the templates, bro. It doesn't make sense. Anyway, so conditions, right? You can easily just use the search bar to search up condition, and then you're going to drag it and drop it in here. You cannot use conditions within action. You can only use condition within conditions, and it is, you can see this gate right here. That is what this is supposed to be, or a door, or whatever you want to call it. This is where your if statements or your if statements also work like this. It is literally asking for an input. It's going to be like, it's not going to be in logic. Again, these are your actions. Your orange are actions. Your green is what goes in side of these actions. And then your control actions are, again, action, or your gates, whatever you want to call it as well. This right here, I really don't recommend to try and like surf through these. I strongly recommend to just search, because these, in my opinion, are very confusing. And if you know what you're trying to look for, you can easily just search it and find it. All right, so if you want like an equals, just type in equals. And no, you can't do the equal sign or anything like that. You have to do equals. You have to type it in English, all right? Because I'm guessing they just assume that we're too dumb and we don't know how to code. So you can't just do equal, plus, or anything like that. You have to do addition. You have to do sum, or actually, I don't think, do they have sum? No, they don't have sum. You have to do subtract, right? So it just frustrates me, right? And then, like, you know, you got your camera effects and stuff like that and whatnot. So by the way, for the flow controls, whatever you want to call it, your branches, your gates, whatever, you do have for loops, you do have while loops, you do have if, you do have, here, you're gonna drag it in here to show you guys, you do have if then, if, well, sorry, you do have if, else if, and else. So you do have those. You just have to click on the gear. Again, like I said, they give you a lot of stuff to work with. It's just not good. I'll leave it like that. All right. Now you might be wondering, well, how do I make random spawns, or how do I stop people from being spawn trapped? Essentially, whenever. Okay, so back to we'll get to that later. How do I stop people from getting spawn trapped on shipment, for example? Because I have these 2 spawn points, but after that, they don't respawn randomly, right? Basically, what you're going to have to do is create 2 different HQs, right? For each team. So you're going to have one HQ for the initial spawn, and then you're going to have another HQ for the random spawn points across the map, right? That is how that is going to work for the most bare bone way of implementing it. Yes, you can make it way more complicated and have each spawn point be tied to a code block here. So you can make it to where someone spawns the furthest away from their killer or attacker, whatever you want to call it, the person that killed them. You can have the spawn work like that. Now, would I recommend to do that? No. And if you are like, well, you do it like that, why would it do what spawn logic? It's because you get a set amount of variables. Again, they really handicap you on how much you can do with Portal, all right? You get a max of 16 global variables, and you get a max of 16 object variables. Again, think of this as public and private. You can call global variables from within anything. You can only call object variables within certain code blocks, all right? That's why I say it like that. It's not 100% true, but that's the way I view it, all right? So, now, you might be like, well, if I'm handicapped on how many variables I have, why would I want to do anything with this? Now, I'm going to straight up tell you, I genuinely have no clue. I cannot answer that question. All I know is that I'm bored, and I like Battlefield, and I like making maps, so I'm going to make the maps, and I want them to all be in TDM, because I don't feel like coding King of the Hill and trying to figure out how to put in the spawn points for King of the Hill. So I'm just going to leave it be, alright? I'm just going to make TDM. I'm going to let people enjoy my map. And that's why I'm giving y'all this TDM template, because I'm never going to work on another mode again, besides maybe multi-team deathmatch. But besides that, yeah, I genuinely hate Portal, alright? And I think after I make this last Call of Duty map and this Roblox map, I think I'm going to spend the rest of my days basically fixing the Battlefield maps, Battlefield 6 maps that we have, because all of them kind of suck dick, I'm not going to lie. And I think I could do a better job, and I think people would like to play on these edited versions of the maps. Now, do I think that they'll be religiously played? No. But do I think that my tweaks will hopefully open up EA's eyes into the fact that we do want Levolution on full scales? Yes. I do think, hopefully, by making these maps, if they gain enough traction, it'll allow EA to actually reflect on how they make maps. Alright, so that's why I'm doing what I do. Alright. Hopefully, this inspires someone else watching this video to kind of do the same thing. But at the same time, I do want you guys to... I do want the takeaway from this video to be, yes, there's a lot of restrictions, but there are workarounds. There's a workaround for everything, I promise you. The only workaround that nobody will ever be able to get past are the variable limits. And this is, again, this is why I'm showing you guys this, are the variable limits and the file size limits. You will never be able to get around that unless you are somehow able to find a way to compress the file within the game or the Godot editor and upload it. And even then, there still might be issues with the game loading up your map. All right. So I'm just going to leave it at that. All right. Now, did that. I'll go over my template now. All right. This is we're getting to the end of the video, boys. So I commented everything in here, all right, to try and help you guys, because I know that not everybody's going to want the same rules that I have in here. So, like I said, everything that says subroutine is a function, all right? You can only add comments by adding these blank text box, or, well, not blank text box, by adding these text box, all right? Also, fun fact, if you search for text, it'll bring it up, and you can drag it and drop it in. And then to bring up those results again, you literally just click on it. So don't bother trying to like go in, you delete T, and then you re-enter T to try and bring it up, for example, right? So, yeah. Everything here is commented to the best of my ability. Like I said, your spawns are going to be your object ID, right, of each HQ. So this isn't HQ 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's HQ Team 1, right, your odd numbers, and then HQ of Team 2, even numbers. I'd recommend to do it that way if you are using my template. You can change this. This is going to be the only thing that might trip people up, because they might make a TDM map that doesn't have the respawn points placed, or they might do it a different way. So then their spawn point gets deleted and they get confused. So I want to try and clarify this in this video. When in here, you're going to want to place down multiple spawn points, right, under another HQ, and then you're going to want to change the object ID. I'll just go over and gloss over this real quick, back to what I was talking about earlier for those that were curious. You're literally just going to search up camera 3D, and then you're going to place it in. It's going to be all the way at the bottom. Okay, I don't know where the fuck it went, but yeah, that is essentially how that works. All right. So yeah, what you're going to want to do, I should have it in here. You're going to want to take Team 1 and then duplicate it. And then, you know, you can move the spawns around or whatever. You can't really see them because they're glitched through the map, but if we go to this base one, right, essentially what you're going to want to do is take one of the HQs, duplicate them, change the object ID to a different number, for example 4 for Team 2. You're going to want to move these guys anywhere on the map that you want them to spawn, and it should technically be random, or at least it should feel random, because if you have multiple, you don't need just 4, by the way. You can copy paste these guys. Fuck, I accidentally messed that up. You can copy paste these guys over and over again. I don't know why they spawn all the way in the back corner though, but you get the point. You can have multiple, you don't need just 4. You can move, again, the way that I have it set up is that at the start of the match, this one's disabled, right? And then after 10 seconds, this is the one that gets disabled. So that is how I have my spawn points work, because it's the easiest way to do it without adding in more rules to the rule editor. yes, you can do it that way, but no matter what, regardless, you will have to have spawn points on the map randomly placed in, and they will have to be tied to an HQ, because that is how Battlefield works. Because, you know, you do it from the map, you don't spawn in through just pressing A most of the time, right? Although, I think that they do that in some of the modes, but that's not my point, alright? So yeah, that is how you do random spawns. Alright, that should be the end of the template. I mean, if you guys are interested in, like, looking, or if you want me to explain it a little bit more real quick, I guess I can. So again, like I said, everything in orange are subroutines. Everything in orange is also strictly UI. Everything in here is the game flow and how the game works. I have a kill streak counter in here. You can easily tweak this to actually put in kill streaks if you want to. You know, like, let's say someone reaches 25 kills, you can easily nuke the lobby, quote unquote, by despawning everyone and having some FX on the map spawn in and do like a little explosion, right? And oh yeah, so that was also one of the other things I did want to talk about, is the fact that you can't spawn in FX and SFX. The only way you could do that is, again, using the rule editor. Again, why portal mode is very, very anti-user friendly. In order to do this, you have to do do they do sound? Yeah, so you can play sound, and it's going to be FX. Yeah, you got VFX and then SFX and stuff like that. Bro, it is so dumb. It is so dumb. Anyway. Yeah, so it's not like Hammer Editor or like Halo or Radiant Black or whatever, where you literally just drag and drop SFX into the map and then it'll play on loop or however you set it up. You have to literally spawn in the FX using... Jesus Christ, this sucks, dick. You have to spawn it in using this. I will say with Hammer Editor, or not with Hammer Editor, Radiant Black, the SFX does get a little bit more complicated because you have to edit Excel sheets, but again, my complaint isn't with that, it's with the fact that they advertise this as like Halo's Forge mode, when in reality this is nowhere close, and it's like 10 times more dog shit. But it's whatever, alright? We'll just gloss over that. But yeah, so that is literally everything Portal related. If you don't care to stay to the end, this is, I guess you could consider this the end of the video, but I do want to go over some other things, right? And that is, there are resources out there to help you. For example, this website has a bunch of templates and a bunch of modes that you can use to try and use as research or you know, resource for whatever you are creating, alright? Just thought I'd bring this up. Because I know that there are definitely some of you watching this probably that don't understand that, or don't understand but didn't realize this website exists. This is definitely going to be a helping hand for you, because like I said, I don't know if I'll be able to find it, but I use I don't see it in here, but I use yeah, here it is. I use this as a template for in a refresh, but I use this right here as a template for the TDM mode that I'm giving you guys. Right, so again, there are resources out there to help you. There's also Reddit and other things where people document like what they do. I'm in this dude's server, Do the McCoy, I think I said his name right, where he goes over a lot of the Portal stuff. So there, like, again, there's resources everywhere. It might not feel like there's a lot because, I mean, you're not really wrong. There isn't a lot of resources about Battlefield 6 Portal. It's documented very poorly. And I feel like part of that is because people want to gatekeep and keep their creations to themselves and be like, well, this is my map, this is my mode, only I can use it. And if you use my mode or show my footage, you have to see my name and mode title and yada yada yada, stuff like that. People are weird, alright? But there's also good reason for people to act like that. It's because people in the modding community love to see all other people's work and then repost it as their own. So, yeah. Anyway, that brings it to the end of the video. Alright. If you guys haven't already, please like and subscribe. I'm trying my best here, alright? And again, like I said, I'm sorry that it's been 2 weeks since I last talked about my TDM test. I did actually get it working. So yeah. But like I said, I appreciate y'all for watching. And I'll see you guys. I'll see you guys in the next video whenever I eventually upload again. So yeah. Peace.